All right. Milos Raonic is joining us. Forgive me, Milos, from Barbados?
Bahamas.
Sorry, I'm that guy. From Bahamas, the lovely island of Bahamas. Okay, Milos, let's jump into it because we fought about Vince Carter for 20 minutes. So, Tim, I'm going to step back because I already won the argument, but I'm curious what Milos wants to say. I'm going to step back.
Yeah.
Just lay it out there, but accurately. Don't be that guy. Accurately lay out the questions you gave to me, and I am interested in Milos Raonic's opinion of this entire Vince Carter issue.
Okay.
So I'm literally going to sit back and give it to Milos. There.
Okay, Milos. Should Vince Carter's number be retired?
Yes.
Should Vince Carter's number be the first to be retired by the Raptors franchise?
Yes.
I gotta take a deep breath. I think this is the first time that you've agreed.
I think the line's breaking up, Milos. Sorry about this. It was really a pleasure.
No, he aggressed. He agreed with you, Sid.
I think it should be. Come on, the guy's changed the landscape of basketball in Canada at the forefront of it. You have Steve Nash, who I think had a bigger change but from afar in that sense. And I think it's something that's going to stay with. And I think over a lifetime, he'll have a bigger impact. But if you take the stretch of how many ever years he was in Toronto, which I don't recall exactly, nobody's had that big of an impact as quickly. You know, the guy was on my cereal box. I don't even remember what cereal it was. I was going to practice at 5:30 in the morning. I was looking at him on my cereal box.
Can I counter one thing?
And then everything else that followed.
Yeah. Can I counter one thing? You in the middle of this, and listen, I have all due respect for our NBA insider Milos Raonic, and I know you know sports as well as anyone on this network because we talked to you about all sports. Sid, am I wrong in saying Milos knows as much about sports as anyone on this
There's
network?
a lot of layers to Milos. There's no question.
We were just talking
F1
and soccer with him via Skype. You said nobody brought, so I have an utmost respect for your sports knowledge. Nobody brought the impact that Vince brought in the amount of time that he was here. Kawhi brought a championship in 1 year.
Yes, there's a difference between a championship and what you're doing at the grassroots level.
Okay.
That's my difference. That's how I think. And also,
impact.
Kawhi, you can't. The thing is, you can't retire Kawhi's number anytime soon while he's still playing. You don't know what his effect's going to be until we get down another generation. Right now, we're seeing the repercussions of what Vince was when you have all these number one picks. You have Andrew Wiggins. You have all these people that say they looked up to him. And you have players that have nothing to do with basketball in Canada, such as Kevin Durant, saying that he would love the Raptors growing up because of Vince Carter. So all these kind of things, I think, say yes to him. Is he the greatest Raptor and the greatest impact of all time? No. But should he be the first one? I think yes, because of the fact, just timing-wise, Kawhi's still playing. You're gonna retire Kawhi's number when he comes in?
It would be a real emotional ceremony for Kawhi. I know that. It would be really emotional for Kawhi if they retired
Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, you'd have to wait for them to do it, obviously, because they're all still playing.
You could say maybe there's a Chris Bosh argument in there.
Yeah.
Is there?
It didn't stick with people. It didn't strike people as much as the Vince Carter thing did. And honestly, the only negative thing that I could remember, and I have a very sparse memory of watching basketball growing up when it was Vince Carter, because I was so into my own little thing.
Okay, you're younger than us. We've established that. Please move on.
Going for that graduation.
Going to the graduation?
Yeah, the way the story has been retold to me, that stings a bit. Before Game 7 against Philly, that stings a bit. But other than that, like, the guy put it all out there.
But if they would have won that game, does that story become irrelevant? Because I think the reason that story has stuck.
It does to a lot of it does. But there's a lot of things, you know. If there's a lot of ifs, what could have been, and so forth. But you're a top leader on a team when there's 4 teams left to go or whatever it was. I don't know. I can't see an MJ pulling that or somebody, just before.
But Milos, it's legitimately
all that matters at that point.
It's the same comparison. If you had if you had a Grand Slam quarterfinal at 3 p.m. local, wherever you are, let's say All England Tennis Club, but you had an engagement.
I'm in bed at 3 p.m. the day before.
Like that's what I'm saying. That was an NBA quarterfinal Game 7.
Yeah.
In what world would Milos Raonic, regardless of, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things important in life, but like a graduation.
I'm in bed at 3 p.m. too. It doesn't change anything. We only have 4 of these. It could be any playoff game. I don't care that it's Game 7. If you do it before any playoff game, I understand that it's a different culture. When you have your 82 games of a regular season, which is a long season, do whatever you may, unless you have one game that's going to decide if you're in the playoffs, which is pretty much your elimination game. But at any point when you start the playoffs, doesn't matter if you have to play 3 out of 5 back in the day or 4 out of 7. Just don't stick to the script and lead the team the right way.
Hey, Rodman went to Vegas, 6-0. Take it easy.
Not during the playoffs, though. To go to Milos's point, you're right, but not during the playoffs.
All right. So I don't want to separate people here. I want to bring them together. I want to bring everyone together under the same roof. Milos, what's your favorite Vince memory? Like we've had the arguments, we've torn the shreds, and judging by Twitter, they're going to continue to do it. So we'll do that in the next segment. What's your favorite memory of
Slam
Vince
dunk competition?
Yeah.
Where were you exactly? I was in a room with like 15 guys, and we were losing it. Where were you?
What was that? That was in 99?
99. He was drafted in 98. Yeah, I believe it was.
So 99 slam dunk competition. Where else would I be? I'm 8 years old other than home. Right? As much as I was playing, I wasn't really on the tour at that point. So I'm pretty sure I was home, but nothing memorable other than what Vince did, that through the legs. What was that, 180 or 360? Then the elbow in the net, the windmill, all that.
Tim, do you remember he hurt himself on that elbow one, and that was the story when he got back? Do you remember that? Apparently, he was going to miss a few games due to an elbow issue when he got back to Toronto, and people lost their minds because they knew exactly where it happened, and it was great.
It was 2000, by the way.
Oh, trust me.
Oh, sorry, it's 2000.
I played in in 2016, the celebrity game in Toronto. I had an injury that ended sort of poorly for me in the Australia, and I didn't want to miss after the Australian. I didn't want to miss a celebrity game in Toronto. I've never played an organized basketball game. I had a tear in my adductor. I still went out and I played that game.
Didn't you dunk?
I wasn't going to miss it. I knew, I was like, you know what? This doesn't really happen to me much in Toronto. Who knows when it's coming back to Toronto? I don't know if I'm going to be 40 years old and trying to beg somebody on the PR team to let me play. So I'm like, I'll tape up my thigh and I'll give it a try.
I thought you dunked too. Didn't you dunk in that game?
I am defending my very lethargic dunk. That's the whole point of bringing all this up.
All right.
Who in the charity game?
My leg was hurting, and that's why I dunked, kind of.
Yeah.
Who in the charity game annoyed you? Like, thought they were way better than they actually were. Like, let's if you want to name
the one person I did get annoyed with was, we did have the taller team between myself and the twins.
The Property Brothers?
The taller team. There was one, and I wasn't expecting this because I was there a little bit hurt. I was just gonna, try to put up some stats and, just like anybody looking for a contract in the NBA, get your numbers up, right?
Right. Yeah.
I got a few elbows, like in the ribs, from, I think it was Ice Cube's son. I was like, and from that point on, I stayed on the perimeter. I don't think I got a single rebound.
So you guys weren't clubbing after?
No.
But he would go on to play Ice Cube in the movie, right?
I understood it from his side, but you know what? I couldn't pad my rebounds stat sheet. I tried to stick it, but as soon as the shot went up, you saw me going the other way. That's for sure.
Milos Raonic here on Tim and Sid from the Bahamas, live and direct. We didn't ask you how you were doing. How you doing?
I'm doing good. This is it's been a tough time. I'm happy we have an idea of when tennis is going to be in our future. At this point, and it's been very motivating because we've done a lot of training, but training, that sort of seems endless and a lot of tiring days and all this kind of thing. But to have a clear vision of what's next that you feel like you're getting ready for and having something to look forward to in August is a big thing. I'm extremely disappointed that we don't have a chance to play in Toronto for us, the women in Montreal, but the right decision. But I'm glad that we as the men get to come back to Toronto next year, because I thought originally once I got canceled, we might be going to Montreal next year. And then, it's 4 years since I get to play in Toronto, but having that come back next year in Toronto, that's pretty special for me.
I know the Bahamas has done really well with COVID-19. Parts of the States have had some struggles and are going through more struggles right now. Do you know, are you locked for the City Open on August 14th, or will a decision come later when you see how this breaks down?
The way I see it with tennis, tennis mostly can be friendly with social distancing. Right. I think when you're going to have to figure out the whole thing of line judges and ball kids on a court, but the fact that two players will never come in contact, you can separate them. The fact that you can put protective equipment on line judges, or what you can do, which has been tested at certain levels, is you can have Hawkeye call all the lines. Yeah. So you're getting rid of 8 people there approximately. You only need a chair umpire in case there's any kind of disputes for time violations, and that guy's high up in his chair. So there's the distancing there. The ball kids, I think, will sort of have to be there just to keep the rhythm of a match going. But I think there's ways that you can make a tennis event work. You have to create the bubble. You have to create the safety precaution measures. And obviously, you have these big venues that are going to have no fans. That means you have empty fan space. You have empty seats. You have empty hospitality space. So you're able to divide players across a much bigger venue. So you can shift people in and shift people out in a better way because of that. Because all of a sudden, a venue that's meant to hold, let's say the U.S. Open, 90,000 people, is going to be only for 2,000 people. And you can do that the right way, I believe, and you can be cautious. I hope tennis will have the possibility to happen, but at the end of the day, it's a government decision. I feel comfortable going to a tennis tournament from the guidelines I've been told so far.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there, because that'd be a sign that things are moving in a specific direction, and it's good seeing you. Period. I hope the flow stays. Long hair Milos on a court would be just poetic, artistic, if I may. I think it's a good look. I think you should keep it.
Yeah, I got to keep the flow going. I got to move faster so I can get some movement on court.
Well, you could go aerodynamic. I mean, that's for some aerodynamic.
McAuliffe's a big fan of that. Yes, McAuliffe's a big fan of the aerodynamic.
Yeah. I think I'd rather get one of those swimmer's caps on and just stick that on.
That's an option as well. It's an option as well. Stay well, brother.
I guess you didn't like it,
but we all hear jokes aside. It's good to hear your voice. It's good to see you. And let's do this again soon, man. Take care.
Anytime. It'd be my pleasure.